Hello viewers, so I'm back with my new video that is for lesson number 4 of MSc grade 9 Domestication of Camels and Muweilah. So without wasting much of the time, let's get started. Here we have the learning outcomes. To describe the effect that the dromedary camel had on the society living at that time, identify the importance of the city of Muweilah in the history of U.A.E, offer ways that people can settle disagreements, describe the society at Maliha, identify how the Maliha culture was in contact with Arabia, explain how to help people, those who are less financially fortunate. Before I proceed further, just a humble request to please subscribe to Learn SST, and if you have really liked my video, then give me a thumbs up. This is activity 1 from the book. Please go through. Let us see the domestication of the camels. For about 10,000 years, people in the U.A.E area shared the land with large herds of wild camels. Herds means huge groups of wild camels. So it was the people in the U.A.E, and the animal which you find over there was wild camels in large numbers. At first, people hunted the wild camels, and that hunted wild camels were used for meat, that is for food, and the hide, that is the skin of the camel, was used for making clothes. Researchers are not exactly sure when camels were first domesticated. However, we know that domesticated camels were present in the U.A.E by 1000 BC. So they are not sure about the date when was it first domesticated, but one thing is for sure, through evidence we come to know that by 1000 BC the camels were domesticated. We do not know if these camels were domesticated in the U.A.E or were brought from other places in Arabia. So this is the second unsure thing, that they were not sure, the researchers are still not sure about it, that the domestication of the camels were done in U.A.E or it was brought from other places in Arabia. However, some of the earliest evidence for the presence of domesticated camels in the world is found in the U.A.E. Once the domesticated camels appeared in the U.A.E area, lives changed forever. Now, here you will see the third use of it. The camels supplied much needed milk. Previously, people consumed milk from cattle, that is, from sheep and goats and so on. Camels, however, provided much greater quantities of milk than either sheep or goats. Camels provided milk during long trips through the desert. So this was the third use of the camel. Besides the camel meat for food, besides the camel hide for clothes, the milk which was provided by the camels was in greater quantities. So this was the third benefit. Most important, camels allow people to travel long distances through the desert. So this is only the animal which helped the Bedouins or the people in those days to travel from one part of the desert to the other part. None of the animals could give them that transportation. Obviously, because the camels are best suited to the desert environment. For thousands of years before the domesticated camel, people focused on living in the interior oases like the Alan, in the mountains, or on the coast like Oman Island. So they did not travel from place to place, much because they could not travel. Why they could not travel? Because it was a hot and a dry desert. So one cannot walk on foot and go through such a huge big desert from one place to another. But with the domestication of the camels, obviously life became easy, travel became easy. However, with the domesticated dromedary camel, which is one humped camel, you find it in the hot deserts, whereas two humped camels are called as bacterian camels. These bacterian two humped camels are found in the cold deserts. So this one humped dromedary camel, with that the people could travel through the desert. Domestication of the camel permitted people to transport goods across the entire country in a manner that was previously not possible. So domestication of the camel brought about so much of benefits of transportation, especially from one place to another, people going from one place to another, goods being transported. So earlier it was not possible. This ability to travel long distances and transport goods created a more connected economy and led to an expansion of towns and villages in the deserts. So this was the best thing which came out of the domestication of the camels, is that transportation became so easy, people felt connected, there was a lot of trading activities going on, and that led to the expansion of the towns and the villages, because even in the remotest parts of the deserts now the people could travel with ease. Now this is activity 2 very much from the textbook. Please go through. Activity 3 again from the textbook. Please go through. Now let us see Muweilah in detail. Muweilah, which is very much in Sharjah, close to the Sharjah airport. So let us see how the expansion of the overland trade, new towns arose over there. Excavation here revealed a large settlement dating from about 1000 to 700 BC. So there was a large settlement which was found over there, and that was so old that it was between this period of 1000 to 7000 BC. The 700 BC, I'm sorry. That means 700 years before the birth of Christ. Muweilah grew rapidly as trade between the coast and the desert increased. Initially, people lived in campsites. Later, mud brick buildings were built. So earlier, people used to live in tents, but slowly and steadily, then they started making use of the mud bricks, and with the mud bricks, they started making sturdy houses or buildings. After 900 BC, the people of the town dug a massive ditch and built walls for protection. So see how slowly and steadily the man started having so much of change in his housing pattern, in his settlement pattern. Perhaps they feared an attack. Their fears were well founded, so it was not baseless. It was, yes, the people were attacked. So that's the reason they started building huge, big walls for protection. About 200 years later, the town was attacked and burned to the ground. Although most of the people seemed to have escaped, some died as the walls of the town collapsed around them. So the walls fell on them and they died. Some people obviously escaped from there. Why it was attacked remains a mystery. It might have been an invasion by a foreign army or simply the result of conflict between the two local towns. It is clear, however, that Muweilah was very wealthy when it was destroyed. So, how do you come to know the wealth of Muweilah? It is only through the way they made the buildings. So they were good building, and they built so beautiful and huge, big, sturdy buildings. So by that we come to know that they were very, very wealthy. The destruction of Muweilah preserved many amazing artifacts for archaeologists to find thousands of years later. Included amongst the finds from Muweilah were some spectacular and unusual objects. So I have put up some pictures over here. You can go through. So these were the unusual objects which were found in Muweilah. One example is the lid of a large incense burner with a figurine of a bull. The incense burner was placed on the ground. As the incense burned, the smoke traveled through the holes into the room. Other incense burners contain figurines of camels showing how important this animal was to the inhabitants of Muweilah. The use of incense became increasingly common during the Iron Age and began a tradition that is still an important part of U.A.E. That's very true. The use of incense sticks or the incense tablets, which we call this as bahur. So it is still being used. Whenever we visit the malls or the shops or the homes of the Arab people, we find that typical kind of aroma or the smell or the fragrance. So this incense is not something very new to the UAE tradition or culture. It's been deep rooted in UAE culture since long. Muweilah is just one example of the many desert villages and towns that grew after the camel was domesticated. Others have been discovered in the middle of the desert throughout the UAE and Oman. The people living in these places traded goods across the UAE and into the rest of Arabia. At this time, the people of U.A.E began to trade with areas of Yemen and Oman for frankincense and other aromatics. So again, you find over here the reference of incense sticks or the incense tablets. So frankincense was actually extracted from a tree, and that particular tree I have put up over here the picture of it. So with the help of that particular tree, the frankincense was extracted, it was dried, and then later on it was burnt. So when you burn that, obviously you get a beautiful fragrance, and it's very much soothing to the mind also. So all these things happened only after the domestication of the camels. And Muweilah is just one example of the many desert villages and towns which grew only after the domestication of the camels. Later on, you find that the trading activities did not only take place in UAE but also UAE and Oman, or UAE, Oman, and with Yemen. In this manner, slowly and steadily, the trading activities kept on expanding. Eventually, the overland camel bone trade extended across the Middle East. So it was not only UAE, Oman, and Yemen, but to other areas of Middle East also. Slowly and steadily, this trade went on or increased or expanded, all because of the camel helping them in transportation of goods. The cities such as Palmyra in Syria emerged along the desert trade routes. This marked the beginning of a new stage in the history of UAE. So obviously you find a very beautiful reference over here of the frankincense, and which was all possible with the help of the domestication of the camels. So trading was boosted with the help of these camels. This is activity 4 from the textbook. Please go through. Activity 5 again from the book. Please go through. This is activity 6 from the textbook. Here is activity 7 from the book. Now let us see Maliha. The ancient village of Maliha is a part of inland Sharjah. Maliha existed for thousands of years before, but its rise to prominence, its rise to glory, was approximately 0 to 300 BC, that is 300 years before the birth of Christ. Maliha became a crossroad, it became a hub for trade routes at that time. Its full size is still not completely known, but archaeological remains cover an area of at least 2.5 into 2 kilometers. So in such a huge, vast area, they could find this village or this town of Maliha. Maliha's size and organization was without a parallel in the ancient. Unlike modern cities, the buildings were spread out over a large area. Most consisted of simple residential structures, probably occupied by farmers. One of the most important discoveries about Maliha is the existence and use of coins. This was the first for the area. That means the coins were not used prior to it. It was used only in this particular period because they found certain coins used by the people in Maliha. This was the first for the area. Coins had not been used in ancient UAE. Prior to this period, the use of coins by Maliha is evidence that Maliha had a significant power in the area. If people must use a government's currency in order to buy things like food and clothing, then that government has more power over the people in the area. Obviously, when we are living in a country, we have to follow that currency. We just cannot give any other country's currency or coins to buy certain things because that is the rule of the land, of the country. So over here also it is the same thing. That means that the government was holding so much power that the people couldn't use any other coins but have to use the coins which were minted in the government treasury. So from the government mint houses, whatever were the coins which were extracted or which were produced, the people were using that for buying the food and clothing. So that showed that the government had so much power over the people. In addition to buying power, coins provided valuable information about the culture, leadership, and important symbolism of the historical period in which they were produced. For example, coin often gives the image, and there is an image, there is a name of the leader of the area which is being mentioned on the coin. Along with describing the leaders, coins often provide important information about the interaction between different groups of the people throughout history. So, if the government is there and the government is asking the people to follow this rule of using the coins, so that shows that it has a lot of power. Until the time they are in power, the people are going to use those coins. So this shows that how long they have reigned or they have ruled in that particular area or in other areas, how long they have ruled. So and then also you come to know the interaction between the different kinds of people, because if that particular coin has been found in a far off place, so that also gives us information that the people were interacting with the people from far off land. So here comes activity 8 from the textbook. Please go through. Activity 9 again from the book. I have written down a few points over here. You can add some more points of your own. Let us see Maliha in Arabia in detail. Another important discovery about Maliha is that it had significant contact. It had very good contact with the rest of Arabia. So they didn't keep themselves, but they had good contacts. For example, the tombs. The tombs which you find during the Maliha period resembles the tombs in other areas of Arabia, including Syria, Saudi Arabia, and famous tombs at Petra in Jordan. Several important inscriptions from Maliha reveal contact with the rest of Arabia. One is written using the South Arabian alphabet common in what is now the modern day Yemen. The inscription reads, Nafs wa kabar Daryat Fatah el Mulk, which can be translated as royal tombs at Petra in Jordan. Tower and grave of Darius, servant of the kings. The term nafs is probably derived from the Aramaic language and indicates, it shows that the area of Arabia had been influenced by several regions adjoining them. The use of the South Arabian alphabet in these and the other inscriptions is an important point in UAE's history. First, it shows the contact that the people of U.A.E area had with the rest of Arabia. And second thing is that it is the first examples of using writings by the U.A.E area people of that time. Prior to it, writing was virtually completely absent from ancient UAE. So these are the two things which comes out when the archaeologists found the South Arabian alphabets in the inscriptions. And these are the two things. One is that they had a good contact, the people of UAE with the rest of Arabia. And second thing is that this was the first examples wherein the people started using writing in the UAE area. Prior to it, it was completely absent. A few examples of South Arabian alphabet are known from earlier contexts. a three-letter inscription from Maliha, from Muweilah, which dates to around 800 BC, especially important. It was only after 300 BC, however, that South Arabian and Aramaic became more common in UE. Even then, writing was never widespread. It was used in special contexts, like on the tombs, on elaborately decorated metal bowls, and so on. This writing had not become the part and parcel of lives of the people. How it is common nowadays. All the children, all the people are educated. They know how to read and write, and they use writings wherever they find it important. But over there, it was only in few places you could find the writings. Most people did not read or write. However, they did share powerful stories and songs about their history and identity. Songs and poetry have long been an important part of U.A.E culture. Songs sung by the fishermen and by the pearl divers tell of the importance of the sea and its resources. So, how rich is the sea with the resources? How important is the sea? So, that we come to know through the songs sung by the fishermen and by the pearl divers. And this song was transmitted from one generation to the other and then to the next, and so on. It was transmitted to all the generations which came in UAE. Poetry recited from the heart, that is by heart, they learnt it rather than read from a page, is also important. So it was memorized. The poetry, the songs, the stories, everything was memorized. And then it was transmitted from one generation to another. Dance and song like the Ayala, this dance is still practiced today, reinforce the national identity and celebrate important events. So you must have seen this dance being performed by the men with the sticks, and it is being performed when they have some special events or celebrations. So here comes activity 10, very much from the textbook. Please go through. This is activity 11, again from the textbook. You can add some more points of your own. This is activity which should be done by your teacher in the class. So I have not written any points over here. So here I come to the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching my channel Learn SST, and if you really liked my video, as I have put a lot of efforts in it, so please give me a like, share it with your friends and with your classmates, so that even they get benefited by my video. See you next time with my new video. Till then, bye bye.